I don't know what's up with these rock and rollers who feel like they've got to take stab. I don't know if they're taking stabs at each other or us as rock fans like, whoa, I can't believe Paul McCartney just said the Rolling Stones is just a blues cover band. Because Paul's got to know by saying that we're going to look at that and go, wow.
Well, they're trying to be relevant.
Yeah, but they're already relevant. They're so relevant, it's ridiculous.
They're running out. It's like Porky's. They're running out of things. They're running out of, and they're old. So they're like just saying stuff that they want.
You think they're just saying stuff to get on people's nerves?
Yeah, I mean it's like you sitting in your chair. They're like, I'm just going to say what I want to say. I've spent all these years. Well, in some ways, it makes sense psychologically. It's coming full circle, right? So when they were young, teens and 20s, they got after it. They were saying things, doing things. It was controversial. It was provocative, right? We didn't have social media, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but we're talking like the biggest bands.
Right.
Like if this was, I don't know, Ed Sheeran, if he said something about that would be a whoa moment. But I mean, he's big enough. If this is some up-and-coming, this was Damon Johnson saying that I could get it because Damon Johnson isn't Mick Jagger.
Right.
Not yet. I get that. But when you got the big dogs of rock and roll hammering on each other, and you can certainly make an argument the Rolling Stones, the Who, Zeppelin, and the Beatles are the four. Those are the Mount Rushmores.
Right.
And they're sitting there hammering at each other. It's kind of like, or are they? Roger Daltrey was in a conversation with the Coda Collection, which is a podcast, offered his own views on Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones. He said, Mick Jagger, you got to take your hat off to him. He's the number one rock and roll performer. But as a band, if you were outside a pub and you heard that music coming out of a pub some night, you'd think they're a mediocre pub band. Yeah, I'm like, Raj, dude.
It's like Archie, man. I'm telling you.
It's kind of like, yeesh. Now, Roger obviously is by himself right now. He's doing a solo thing. He's not in the United States. By the way, the Rolling Stones, their No Filter tour, Polestar just came out and released the numbers. They are grossing $10.1 million a show.
That's crazy.
You know who's second? You'll never guess it. Eric Clapton at second. He's grossing $1.3 million. The Rolling Stones are 10 times outgrossing the next big band. Now, that may have to do with the fact they're playing stadiums in bigger areas.
Yeah, right.
But Eric could do that if he wanted to, but he can't fill 43,000 seats.
No, because Eric Clapton.
But the Rolling Stones can.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the Charlie Watts thing, and it probably was a perfect storm.
Yeah.
But $10 million a show that band is grossing right now through No Filter.
So interesting. It's so interesting. I mean, you wonder, we've asked about their net worth, each of their net worths, and that whole idea that they've got plenty of money. But then you said, we talked about Elton John, his friends, you know. So you do wonder, you hope that this is, it's, you know, they're just doing, it's passion. And I do think that there is a part, besides passion, and they love to do this, etc., that, like, it's pretty badass if you're like, how old's Mick Jagger? Like 76?
Yeah.
Okay. There has got to be this sort of personal ego thing, not the performance, but to be able to say, I'm freaking 76 years old. Look at me getting out there. I'm getting after it. Like, you know, and I think that also I mean, in addition to the love for music, there's probably this piece. Plus, we've already talked about it, you know. I mean, we're not at this age, but, like, they know.
I think that's another reason why we want to see the Rolling Stones, because we know they don't have to do it.
Well, they don't have to
do it.
They're doing it,
and if they're doing it for the love of it, they're going to put a good show on for us. Elton John, if it's true that he's only doing it for the money, then I know that I'm going to get a lackluster show. As much of a lackluster show as I could get from Elton John. The Rolling Stones don't need the money, and I wouldn't think that Elton John would need the money. But if you're going out at that age and you're just doing it for the sheer love of the music, I know you're going to be passionate about it. You're going to give me your best. If you're one of these old rock and rollers like, I say B.B. King or Van Morrison or Gordon Lightfoot or one of these guys that hasn't had a hit in 50 years and they're out touring, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is a money grab. I don't think James Taylor is doing concerts because he needs the cash. He's doing it because he still likes to entertain his audience.
Well, but don't you
and
think,
if he does that, that's going to be a good show.
Don't you think for everybody? Like Gordon Lightfoot is just an example. Like, they're all performers, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying they're all doing it for money grab.
Okay.
And I'm not saying they have to. But there are a few out there that Warren Z. I'm trying to think of some other guys.
But here's the thing. Look, we just talk about unemployment. Like you're so funny. It's interesting we say that. You're just doing it for the money grab, but it's not. It's
like
not.
Leonard Skinner's not doing it for the money anymore.
Well, hey, okay.
They don't need to do it for the money.
But
anymore.
even if you needed it, but even if you needed
Marshall Tucker Band's got to do it for the money, probably.
Okay, let's stop. Even if you have to do it for the money,
doesn't mean it's not going to be a great show.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But if you know they don't need the money and they're still on the road at 75, you're like you're going to get their best, as good as a 75-year-old can give it to you. I think that's why the Rolling Stones are doing it. That, and I think the Rolling Stones do a great job at whatever they are inefficient at. They blow it up. Remember when the Who did the Super Bowl show?
Yeah.
It sucked.
Yeah, it
was terrible. But man, the light show was killer.
You're right.
I mean, you could tell they're like, okay, this isn't good, so we're just going to have to blow it out.
Yes.
But if you've got the whole package and you got the, that's Trans-Siberian Orchestra is what that is.
So is Mick Jagger going to come back and say something?
No. He goes on to say about Robert Plant.
Oh, he went on. It was just Daltrey.
Whose experience fronting Led Zeppelin was very different from Daltrey's own experience from fronting The Who. He said, I managed to get the short straw of the singers in all the bands. Roger Daltrey said he reflected. No solos. Who songs are all lyrics. Robert Plant, they call him Percy, as we call him. He's a very good friend of mine, and we do joke about it. He said you could go off and read a book when Jimmy Page started up a guitar solo or John Bonham started a drum solo. He said, I suddenly thought, I wonder what I would have been like in a band like that. So he said, I really, appreciate that. He also goes on to say that he's a hater of the internet, explaining, I never thought any good would come of it, and I still don't think any good's come of it. I think if we're not careful, it's probably the end of our civilization as we know it.
Okay, Art. Yeah, come on. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. You get to say whatever you want to say. Sure. That's fine. But, who's going, yeah. Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Dude, shut up.
I get Roger Daltrey saying that because Roger Daltrey, and I'm assuming Roger Daltrey's got a social media presence.
I was just going to say, I'll bet you he's got a Twitter account, Instagram account. And now he may not. Do you think any of these guys run their own? Like Mick Jagger? I don't know.
No.
Not the Stones, but they're individual.
No. I think they could. If they want to drop something in, they can.
Sammy does.
Sammy, or says, hey, I want to do something, I want to post this picture and put something good about it or something like that. Now, do they actually go on and post their own stuff?
Yeah.
I think they have, but they probably don't do it on a regular basis. Okay. They've got someone to do that for them. Listen, if you did not have to be on social media, it had no bearing on your business, no bearing on your Instagram, on whatever you do, would you do it?
No bearing on it. Yeah.
Like if you were just a guy that had no bearing on your business, on your brand, on who you were.
Yeah. So
would you be on social media?
Well, I was thinking about that,
because when I see Billy F. Gibbons on Twitter or Roger Daltrey on Twitter or Sammy Hagar, I'm like, Sammy, I can see it because he's still selling shows. Yeah. He's doing his Las Vegas residency.
I think it's cool, but I think there's a demand for it. To be honest with you, again, particularly, all of them. I was going to say Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, not so much TikTok, but the ones where we feel like we can interact with them. I don't know what's in their head, but if you're that big of a star, that is your way to give something to your fans. It really is. It's different than your music. They do want to know. It is interesting to me. I've started doing this. I don't know why. I've started following, and I never did before. I've started following more celebrities and musicians and athletes, and I never did. Because I'm fascinated. Again, I feel like I'm late to the party. What are they doing today?
Yeah.
What's Daltrey doing today? Is he going to the grocery store? Is he walking his dog? To me, that is the allure of social media, is these people that we can't touch. We will never know when they do post things. And that's the other thing. I think that when celebrities are posting on social media, their fans don't want a lot of lofty, here is my latest video. You're going to drop your video, but they want to know the other stuff.
They want to know your personal stuff. Yeah.
They want to know, you know, after the show, we went to In-N-Out Burger. It was so good. I got a little indigestion.
No, Paul Stanley posted that picture with his 101-year-old father.
See, like that.
That stuff blows up.
But you know why? Because it's
personal.
It's not only it's personal. I think the other interesting psychological piece is when you look at the time on it, because it has the time. So it's not. If you're posting something on your webpage or, you know, before social media, then it was just, okay, here's a picture. Who took the picture? When did it happen? Etc. But, you know, you could see 1 hour ago.
Yeah.
And you have this false sense, okay, an hour ago, he was with his dad and he was taking a picture. I mean, this is where the Kardashians figured this shit out. Mm-hmm. And it's also where one of the biggest industries is influencer marketing, because it's not a TV commercial that was pre-recorded and running. Yep. You know what I mean?
Britney Spears has done a great job using her Instagram. But Britney Spears is in her 30s. She's not a person who is on the downside of her career, has all the money in the world, and doesn't need to do that. There's one guy, you know who it is, that will never be on social media. That is the only person I can think of that isn't on social media. Nick Saban.
Oh, yeah, he's still not.
He's the president. Every other coach in the SEC's got a Twitter account.
Yep.
He's the only guy I know that's like, I'm not doing it.
But if that fits his personality.
Yeah, but my question is why? If he said I don't have time, well, no one has time for it. They have people doing their Twitter stuff.
Well, you know what? Here's the other thing.
So what?
It's interesting. No, but
because that is one guy that people would love to get to know a little bit better.
So here's why
he posted a picture of him and Miss Terry having dinner.
But that's the thing. I think he doesn't have to, because Alabama posts enough stuff from his pressers, from things that he's doing. They're not posting on behalf of him. But there's so much Nick Saban stuff that he's not posting, including kissing Miss Terry before the game, etc. And other people are posting about him. Here's what Nick Saban did. Here's where Nick Saban was. So I feel like while it's probably not the same as Nick Saban typing something in there, he does enough. He does enough speaking in different venues. They're like, I don't know what else you would say.
But I mean. Like people do that about Mick Jagger.
Yeah, no, but
they're posting stuff about Mick Jagger. They're posting stuff about any other celebrity. Yeah. Elon Musk, who's got an account.
It fits. I don't know. It fits Saban's personality, at least his persona. I don't know him. Yeah. Well, you know him. You know him better than. I mean, I get
it. No, I'm happy. That
but do you think that's consistent with? I don't know.
The only time I think he'd do it is because I think it'd be a great recruiting tool. Because
doesn't have to now.
But kids love social media.
If Nick
Saban had a TikTok channel, it would help his recruiting. It would help in some aspect. Because that's the people he's talking to, 17, 18, 19
Yeah, but is he at the level now, and is Alabama at the level as a school or as a program where it's promoting itself, right? So Alabama's posting the next 5-star commit.
Yeah.
Right. And it's flashy. It's speaking to the 17, 18-year-olds. There's pictures. Alabama is posting pictures of Coach Saban with somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So and again, there are about 25 other publications, Bama Online. There's all these other things that are doing it, rivals all these recruiting services that are probably doing it for him because, Alabama's a self-promotion machine. I mean, there's no doubt. That's probably the only school in the country where it's so self-promoting.
That's kind of what I mean.
You probably don't need to
do. Well, if I'm Nick Saban, what would I literally, I was thinking about, what would you say? Like, I don't know him.
Yeah.
Here's what I have for breakfast. Do we know what Nick Saban eats for breakfast? Does anyone, is that known?
No, I know he still loves the Little Debbie thing, but.
I mean, that's what I mean. He loves, what's his song?
It just makes me wonder why, if you've got all the money in the world and you're on the road, because that's the biggest promotion you could do. You're playing in front of 60,000 people every 3 days.
I think it's
then why would you have to promote? Because people are taking pictures and they're posting it on their stuff.
Because I think it's another.
The Rolling Stones are a self-promotion machine.
But I think it's another angle. Again, Taylor Swift was a master of this sort of technological personal connection, right? I can't really see you, but I'm going to post something so that you feel more connected to me because it's important to who I am as an artist.
Yeah, and that's And Nick Saban would probably say it's not important to me that you know me any better, which is
right.
Yeah.
Wait till he goes on his speaking tours.
He speaks a lot.
That's true. He does speak. See, he doesn't need it. Does Miss Terry have a? I think she does. Terry Saban's on Facebook.
His daughter is. Nick Saban's daughter. And she's
I know, but is
posted
Miss
several
Saban?
things
Is Miss?
I don't know if Miss Terry's on or not. She's a delightful woman, by the way. She is. We had a show with her.
She seems delightful.
She is the perfect wife for a man like Nick Saban.
She balances his.
They balance. Yeah, and he'll say, Miss Terry wants to do it, then we'll do it. If Miss Terry doesn't want to do it, then it's probably not going to happen. She runs that family, or at least he gives and I think she does. But she understands him. She understands. I think he's just really, really. When I sent you that clip, he was on NFL Live on ESPN yesterday. They were asking about Mac Jones, and it was a really good interview. And you could tell him he kind of relaxed a little bit. He laughed a little bit.
Well, by the way, let's just say there are more and more that as he's getting older, we're getting more and more moments of not kinder, gentler, but more facets of Nick Saban that you wouldn't see.
Yeah. I just think he has a really good routine and a regimen and how he wants to do things.
Yeah.
They were talking about adaptation and, as it became more of a passing game or more defensive game and blah, and each person on NFL. It was a great interview. And he was talked about, we say adapt or die. We have a show called Adapt or Perish with Adaptogents, Dr. Alex Hublin and Dr. Josh Klapow every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. And it plays into that. If you don't adapt, you don't change. If you're like, I'm going to force my way down your throat.
That's right.
Ask Jim Harbaugh how that's worked. He's obviously having a good year this year, but he's been constantly trying to push that. And I think we're seeing this with Mike Leach, our good friend, this past weekend.
Yeah.
Down 25. And I'm thinking, man, because everyone said Mike Leach comes in the SEC, he's going to fail miserably. There ain't no way his high-flying air raid offense, because the SEC adapts. And that crap ain't flying here. Well, guess what? It's flying now. It took him a couple years to get it going. He's not winning 10 games yet at Mississippi State, but there's a reason why he was Coach of the Year twice. And I was happy to see it. I hated to see it for my Auburn brethren,
but that is, listen.
He doesn't need to dance afterwards.
This is this is what we were talking about earlier in the show, about this idea of, you want to go out, you want to have your business, you're so passionate about it. It's the right thing to do. I'm driven by it. I feel it in my soul. I know that this is, well, you look at a Saban or a Mike Leach, they still are passionate about coaching football. They still have general principles about the way they go about it. But even more so, Nick Saban, the output of what his program has done has changed.
Yep.
Right? But that doesn't mean the process. He talked about the process stays the same. And I think this is what he was talking about. I think this is what he's talking about when we talk about adapting. He's not saying, okay, the way we practice, the way we do our morning drills, the way we pay attention to detail, well, that's all got to change. Essentially what he did is he said, okay, the game is changing. Let's just say the market is changing. And so you don't go out and because you're passionate, say, I don't care because a lot of motivational speakers tell you to do this. You hang on to your dream. No matter what anybody says, you keep going. Oh, bullshit. Like that doesn't work. It doesn't work. You hang on to your core beliefs about what you're trying to do, but then you become very flexible, very adaptable. If the hurry up offense is what's working, the smartest thing you can do, and we saw Nick Saban do this. In the beginning, this is how you adapt. In the beginning, you go, no. It's not. It's not what I do. Mm-hmm. And then you try it for a little bit. I'm gonna do okay, that shit's not working.
Yeah,
not work. So we're gonna try a little bit, and this is what makes Alabama great. They didn't go from running game only to hurry up offense only. You saw this gradual piece where they integrated it, but they changed. He didn't say because I'm Nick Saban, it's gonna be this way.
Yeah.
That's where most businesses, I'm telling you, it's where most businesses fail.
The one thing that Nick Saban has done really, really well, and he's had the wherewithal and the resource to do this, is he brings in people too.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, he's got 3 NFL guys on his staff. I mean, it's just,
with various, and they're not, they always say, surround yourself by people who are not going to say, the people you need to be surrounded by are the people who are in your corner all the time, going to support you no matter what. You got the people who are going to call you out always, no matter what. And then you want the people who are going to play it real with you. Mm-hmm. People, you want people who are going to call you out and make you feel doubt. You want some of those people in your court. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And then you want that third group that is going to balance it. And I think that's what Nick Saban has. He doesn't bring in clones of him and his process.
Yeah. It's amazing though, is because I mean, there's probably a lot of guys who are like, I'm never going back to that route. I'm never being an assistant again, or I'm a head coach. Bill O'Brien. We can go on and on and on. That's not. But for whatever reason,
because
it's known, because if you get back in that Alabama machine, you will spit back out into.
So you think that's what he wants to do, Bill O'Brien? You think that's what?
Yeah, I think everyone eventually wants to get back to a head coaching position outside, like, say, a Mike Shula, who seems to be, he tried the head coaching thing. It didn't work, and he's been super happy as a quarterback coach in the National Football League. So, yeah, there's some guys that are just great assistants. They're not made to be head coaches. But if you've already tasted that and you've been successful at it,
how old is Bill O'Brien?
Bill O'Brien, he's young.
Okay.
If you're in that situation, I don't have any doubt that Bill O'Brien wants to, Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, got beat by Kansas, a 30-point underdog this past week, and people are talking about him losing his job.
But,
the Dan Mullen situation.
Yeah.
And now Dan Mullen hasn't been an assistant in a long time because he's been head coach to head coach. I don't see him lasting much longer at Florida right now, which is really amazing because you give up 42 to Samford in the first half. I don't see that. That sounds like the defense got together before the game and said, listen, if you really want him gone, we're going to give up a whopping amount. I mean, I don't know how you give up 42 points to Samford, with all due respect to Samford. Yeah. I don't know how you give up that kind of points when you're Florida.
We're going to see Sarkisian back at Alabama.
Again? The third time?
It's like rehab.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe he's having a relapse. It's called Texas. That's a hell of a job.
Well, it is, but it's a high pressure. Listen, I mean, I know USC was.
Yeah, and Texas is going to be in the SEC too.
He'll be back.
Well, if he stays long enough at Texas, he's not going to get fired now because he hadn't been there long enough. But the Dan Mullen situation is really interesting.
You think he can become
because I thought he was a good fit there. He leaves one SEC school to go to another, and I that was one of those change my atmosphere and change my success stories.
Mm-hmm.
And it really looked like, but he's not saying the right things when he said that was a great win for us.
Yeah,
to win 70-52 over Samford, that's not a great win. That's not what your fan base wants to hear. That's not what your boosters want to hear.
Nope.
That's not what your president.
Why do you think they do that? These guys are.
They're pissed. He knows he's going to catch it.
So it's in the moment?
Yeah. He knows he's going to catch it when he gets it up there. People are going to go, what the hell happened there?
Yeah.
So we won by 18. What's the problem? A W is a W.
Yeah, that's a
no,
it's
not.
That's the defensiveness.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in style. That's why Mike Leach.
Yeah, someone said something about a bad loss. Somebody's like, that's disrespectful to losing teams. What are we talking about here? I'm like, dude, we put 70 up.
Yeah.
That's great. Can't we find the good parts about this? And they're like, you see it for what it is.
Yeah.
You were down by 7 at halftime to Samford.
This is why Nick Saban, Mike Leach they're very different, but Saban and Leach are great about this. And even Dabo is great about this. They have got a lane, an interaction with the press that is so them, right? It's not kind of all over the place. It's so that Dabo is always, you feel good. You just feel good.
Yep.
You just feel, okay, it's good. Mike Leach, you're just like, okay, well, and it's great because he'll pause sometimes. Like, you watch a Mike Leach presser, you have no idea where he's going to go. Even when he's pissed, you can't really tell that he's pissed, but he's not happy.
No, he's great, but he's still, despite the fact that he was super successful at Washington State, we used to have him on our show every single week. despite the fact that he's a 2-time National Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
there's still a novelty to that. You don't want to lose. That's a bad loss when you lose to Mike Leach because of his corniness and his caricatures and his swords and he's still that one guy that people, at least in the SEC, don't take seriously. They did out in the Mountain West or wherever he was at in Washington State because he was kicking their ass until he could start beating Alabama's, and he beat Auburn. And showing up every single week and putting his product out there, he's not going to be taken seriously enough. But I think some people are like, this is kind of interesting.
Well, plus he's and then I would say Nick Saban's, sort of MO when he does his press conferences is always the same. It's so clear. They ask about all the good things. He'll always say we did some really good things. And then you get the list of all the things we need. He doesn't always say bad things. I've heard him say we did some bad, the things we need to work on, which again fits into the whole process. He reminds me so much of a slightly grumpier John Wooden. And I'm trying to think, I know there's lots of other coaches, but this kind of thing that, and this is why he goes out and speaks. He has this whole approach to everything about sports, which, if you think about it, and I'm sure other coaches do, but it's out there. And he's so consistent with it that, this is why, I don't think this is necessarily why he is one of the greatest coaches. I just think that's why his approach to coaching will work anywhere for any business. And let me say this too. One of the things I went to UCLA. I'm a Nick Saban fan, but I'm a fan of the business and the organization. You think about the people that he brings in to speak. You think about the people he brings in to consult the coach. Obviously, he is in a position to do that, but he's constantly exposing his team to different kinds of athletes, different kinds of players, different kinds of coaches. Mm-hmm. It's great.
They were asking Saban yesterday about Bill Belichick, whom obviously he coached under, and how much longer they thought he would coach.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
and obviously you knew they were kind of going because they're about the same age.
Oh, that's right.
Because
are they really?
Yeah, he's 69. I think they're both around 69 or 70. And he's like, well, I talked to Bill occasionally, and it sounds like he's still got fire in the hole and still wants to change things. He likes the fact that he's got a new quarterback that he can deal with. Blah blah blah. And then he kind of reverted to himself saying, I'm kind of in that same situation as long as it's fresh and new and I want to continue to learn. And he goes, there will be a time where you realize that you don't want to adapt anymore.
Yeah.
And you don't want to change and you start getting kind of tired. And that's probably when you decide to hang it up. He said, but
what do you think? 4 years?
For Nick? Yeah, I'd say at least another 4.
Yeah. Again, if we use the Rockers, we use the Rockers as a benchmark.
Yeah,
we would have never.
I don't think Nick Saban is going to allow himself to become unadaptable.
Yeah, absolutely.
While he's still coaching, so I do see. You're not going to see Nick Saban go 6-4 or 7-4. It's not going to happen. You will see him,
but will he?
It may be a 10-2 season. It may be things a little difficult, but you're not going to see that 4-7 season. That's going to be okay. There's something wrong here.
Well, which way is it going to go?
The pros is different because there are too many moving pieces. Right now they look fantastic. New England looks great. They won 5 games in a row. Bill Belichick loses 7 or 8 games. Well, how many games did he lose last year? It doesn't mean that he's lost it. It's just you're playing it every single year, and you're playing a 17-game schedule. It's different in the National Football.
What if Alabama slides a little bit? So there,
3 losses would be a slide.
Okay, so there's 3 losses. Does Nick Saban, just knowing who he is, does he go, this is time? And does he go, it's the whole, do you go out on top? But see, with him,
he's not going to go. He's not going to do it based on losses. He'll do it on his adaptability. He'll do it on whether he feels like he can still do it or not.
So it could.
They're going to lose 2 games this year because I think they're going to lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game, which means they won't be playing for a national title. So
then, right, because this is about coaching, not about where we're at.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
And when you have that type of staff around you,
well, this is the CEO, right? This is the CEO.
He'll never be this way, but he could be that guy. He had COVID. He coached from the damn.
No, he can't. He couldn't coach. Remember, because that was the rules.
Yeah, whatever.
But he could become the chairman of the board.
Yeah.
You're right. He could move from CEO.
Well, and that's what Joe Paterno did.
Yeah, that's true.
Towards the end.
How old was Joe? He was in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, John.
Towards the end, man, the players said they never saw Joe.
Yeah.
They never saw Joe. They saw their group coaches, their assistant coaches, but you never saw Joe. Joe never showed up to practice in his walker and his cane and all that stuff after his hip replacement stuff. And then certainly towards the end. But